Chapter 1: The Boy Who Never Belonged. Before the world ever whispered his name, before private jets, tailored suits, and billion-dollar empires, there was only a boy named Ethan Cole, a boy the world ignored, mocked, and pushed aside long before it tried to end him. Ethan grew up in Bridgewood, a forgotten town where cracked roads and broken homes told stories no one wanted to hear. It was a place where people stopped dreaming, because dreaming only made the disappointment hurt more. In that world, Ethan walked like a shadow, trying not to take up space. His mother, Lydia Cole, was the only light he had. A woman who laughed softly, even when her body ached from working double shifts at the diner. She never had enough money, never had enough rest, but somehow, she always had enough love for him. Ethan adored her, and he carried her strength the way other children carried toys. At school, he spoke little. He moved quietly. He learned to make himself small so the bullies might overlook him. Sometimes they did. Most times, they didn't. His clothes were old, his shoes were worn, and his confidence was paper thin. But even in all that loneliness, he wasn't completely alone. Mason Blake entered Ethan's life like a warm breeze on a cold morning. Charming, confident, loud, always smiling. Everything Ethan wasn't. Mason had friends who admired him, teachers who praised him, and a voice people listened to. And for some reason, he chose Ethan, called him a friend, walked with him, laughed with him, protected him when no one else would. To Ethan, Mason was more than a friend. He was a brother, a lifeline, proof that maybe the world still held a little kindness. Together, they dreamed of escaping Bridgewood, of chasing success, of becoming men the world would never overlook again. Ethan believed with all his heart that they would rise together. But storms do not warn you before they break. And betrayal never comes from strangers. It comes from the ones you trust the most. Chapter 2: The Night of Betrayal. At 17, Ethan and Mason worked at a dusty construction site on the edge of Bridgewood, a place filled with sweat, rust, and men who carried bitterness heavier than the bricks they lifted. For Ethan, the job meant paying for his mother's medication. For Mason, it was just another step before bigger dreams. Every Friday, the foreman brought out the weekly wages, an envelope thick with cash. Workers gathered around like thirsty men at a well, waiting for the only relief the week offered. But on this particular evening, the relief turned into rage. The envelope vanished. Shouts erupted instantly. Accusations flew through the air like sparks from a fire. Men searched the office, the lockers, each other. And when desperation needed someone to blame, their eyes found Ethan. Small, quiet, nervous Ethan. One worker stepped forward. "I saw the quiet kid near the office," he said. Ethan's voice trembled as he replied, "I didn't take anything, I swear." But then Mason stepped closer. His eyes didn't meet Ethan's. His voice was shaky, conflicted, and deadly. "I'm sorry, Ethan," Mason whispered. "But I saw you walk out of the office after the envelope disappeared." The world froze. Ethan stared at him, disbelief flooding his chest. "Mason, why would you say that? You know I didn't." But the men didn't care. Logic didn't matter. Truth didn't matter. Only anger. Rough hands grabbed Ethan. Fists slammed into his ribs, his stomach, his face. The workers dragged him across the dirt like a criminal being delivered to judgment. They hauled him to the woods, dark, wet, merciless. Rain began to fall, turning the ground to mud, turning their boots to weapons. The beating grew vicious. Pain blurred into numbness. Thunder drowned out his screams. One final punch sent him collapsing into the dirt. The foreman spat beside him. "Let this be a lesson," he growled. Then they left him there, broken, bleeding, and forgotten. By sunrise, Bridgewood carried a single rumor like truth. Ethan Cole is dead, and the boy who betrayed him lived his life as if nothing happened. Chapter 3: Reborn in the Dark. But destiny had no intention of letting the story end there. A lone truck driver, an old man with tired eyes and a heart still capable of kindness, spotted something on the side of the road just before dawn. A body, mud-covered, barely breathing, barely alive. Ethan Cole. He brought him to a hospital miles away, a place where no one knew him, where his name carried no shame and no past. Ethan drifted in and out of consciousness for days. His jaw was wired shut, his ribs fractured, his vision blurred like a fogged window. Doctors doubted he would recover, but pain had carved something new inside him. Something sharp, something determined, something undefeated. Weeks passed. Slowly, Ethan learned to sit up, to speak, to walk. Every step hurt, but every step reminded him he was still alive. The boy those men tried to kill refused to die. One night, long after visiting hours ended, Ethan sat alone in the dim hospital room. Machines beeped gently. Rain tapped against the window. He stared at his reflection in the glass. Swollen, scarred, unrecognizable. And he whispered, "If they think I'm dead, then the old me will stay dead." He didn't cry. He didn't break. He simply let go. He left Ethan Cole behind in that hospital room. From then on, he worked jobs no one else wanted. He slept in tiny rented rooms. He studied when others slept. He learned coding, finance, negotiation, investment, anything that could build a new life from the ashes of the old one. He failed countless times, lost money, made mistakes, but he never quit. Each failure sharpened him. Each setback fueled him. Pain was no longer his enemy. It became his fire. He didn't rise quickly. He didn't rise easily. But he rose. And when he finally rose, he rose far beyond the reach of the world that once tried to bury him. Chapter 4. The Making of a Phantom Billionaire. Ethan vanished from the world the day he left that hospital. But the man who rose from those ashes was someone the world would never be prepared for. He took a new name, Ethan Black, a name with no past, no weakness, and no trace of the boy Bridgewood tried to destroy. He moved to a small city where no one asked questions. He worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, janitor by morning, warehouse laborer by afternoon, dishwasher by night, and every hour in between, he studied. He studied the markets, reading ancient investment books until the words blurred. He studied coding, often sleeping with his laptop on his chest. He studied leadership, business psychology, negotiation, and the habits of great men. He consumed knowledge like a starving man consuming food, knowing that education was his only weapon. People saw a quiet young man who kept to himself, who wore the same clothes every day, who spoke softly, but they never saw the storm he carried in his mind. His first breakthrough came at age 20. A small logistics app he coded in a cramped rented room somehow caught the attention of a regional shipping company. They made him an offer. He sold it, not for glory, but for capital. Capital became opportunity. He built a fintech software next, a simple payment gateway designed for small businesses. Within a year, it went viral. Investors poured in, partnerships formed. Ethan never showed his face in a single meeting. He spoke through calls, proxies, intermediaries. The world knew. The world knew his brilliance, but not his identity. Then came real estate. Then came private equity. Then came international markets. Every failure became a lesson. Every success became a stepping stone. By 28, Ethan Black owned holdings in 8 countries. By 30, he was a billionaire. But the world did not know it was the boy they left for dead. He refused interviews, declined photographs, avoided public appearances. Business journalists called him a myth. Competitors whispered rumors. Some said he didn't exist. Some said he was a group of people, a collective genius. Others said he was a ghost. But Ethan knew the truth. He was a ghost, because ghosts don't forget the people who killed them. And in the quiet corners of his mind, the rage that built him whispered one promise: when the time is right, I will return. Chapter 5. The Homecoming of a Ghost. 15 years after the night he was left for dead, Ethan Black returned to Bridgewood, not as the quiet boy they once beat, but as the billionaire the world couldn't trace. When his convoy of black SUVs rolled into town, people stepped outside their homes, shading their eyes from the glare. No one in Bridgewood had ever seen anything like it. Men in tailored suits, earpieces, security teams scanning rooftops. The air itself felt heavier, as if announcing the arrival of someone important. Ethan stepped out of the center car, tall, confident, a man carved by hardship and rebuilt by ambition. The streets he once walked as a forgotten boy now echoed under his polished shoes. He looked around slowly, absorbing every cracked building, every faded street sign, every memory carved into the concrete. Bridgewood hadn't changed, not really, but Ethan had. He walked past the diner where his mother once worked, past the school where he learned to hide, past the grocery store where he stole bread when hunger became unbearable. Each step brought back memories he thought he'd buried. Finally, he reached the construction site, the same one where his life ended and another began. He stood still for a long moment before whispering, "I'm home." But this time he didn't come as a victim. He came as a king returning to the ruins of the kingdom that rejected him. And news spread fast. Whispers traveled from house to house. Who was he? Why was he here? What did he want? Chapter 6. When the past begs for mercy. Mason Blake had grown older, but not wiser. The confidence he once carried like a crown had long since faded. His construction company was falling apart. Lawsuits, unpaid debts, broken equipment, workers quitting left and right. His life was a collection of mistakes he never took responsibility for. So when he received a call saying a billionaire investor wanted to meet him about a full acquisition of his company, Mason felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. He wore his best suit, though it was old and fraying at the edges, and rushed to the meeting location. The office was unfamiliar, too elegant to belong to anyone in Bridgewood. Marble floors, glass walls, gold accents. Mason stepped inside, awestruck. Then, he saw a figure sitting in the chair with his back turned. "Sir, I'm Mason Blake," he said nervously. The chair turned slowly. Mason's breath caught in his throat. The man staring at him, calm, cold, eyes steady, was a ghost. "Ethan?" Mason whispered, his voice cracking. "You're alive?" Ethan didn't smile. He didn't stand. He simply studied him with the expression of a man looking at someone he no longer recognized. "Disappointed?" Ethan asked quietly. Mason fell back into a chair as if his legs had melted beneath him. I didn't mean for any of that to happen. I was young. I was scared. They pressured me. I didn't know they would hurt you like that. Ethan, please, you have to believe me." Ethan finally stood, walking toward him with slow, deliberate steps. "You didn't just lie," Ethan said softly. "You pointed at me. You let them beat me. You let them leave me to die." Mason dropped to his knees, trembling. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry. I lost everything. My wife, my home, my business. Please don't take what's left. Please." Ethan looked down at him, not with anger, not with pity, but with the cold clarity of a man who had already moved beyond pain. "I'm not here to take what's left of your life," he said. For a moment, Mason breathed out in relief. Then Ethan leaned closer. "I'm here to take everything you thought you built." And with one signature, one clean stroke of a pen, Ethan bought Mason's entire company for pennies. Mason walked out of the building, not as a CEO, but as a man finally facing the consequences of the betrayal he once believed would never return to him. Chapter 7. The Rise They Never Saw Coming. After taking control of the company, Ethan did something Bridgewood never expected. He didn't destroy it out of spite. He didn't fire workers out of vengeance. Instead, he rebuilt everything. He repaired the failing school system, renovated the abandoned hospital his mother once visited, created job programs, funded small businesses, revived the very town that threw him away. People watched in disbelief. Some were ashamed, some were grateful. Most were simply stunned. They whispered to each other, "Why is he helping us? After everything we did? Why?" When reporters eventually cornered him and asked the same question, Ethan gave an answer that silenced not just Bridgewood, but everyone who heard it. "I'm not helping the town that hurt me," he said. "I'm helping the children growing up the way I did. Children who deserve a chance, even if the world refuses to give them one." As for Mason, Ethan didn't touch him again. He didn't ruin his personal life, didn't follow him, didn't send anyone after him. He simply let him watch. Watch as Ethan transformed Ridgewood into something better. Watch as Ethan became everything Mason pretended to be. Watch as the boy he betrayed became the man the world now admired. Because sometimes the greatest punishment is not destruction. It is watching someone you tried to bury rise so high that you can no longer see where they began. Ethan never returned to who he was. He didn't need to. Because the boy they once left for dead had become a billionaire reborn in fire. And no matter how far he rose, one truth remained. They didn't just fail to kill him, they created him. You've just witnessed another tale of struggle, power, and silent revenge. This is the Billionaire Underdog Stories, where shadows become kings. If you want to become the next billionaire, like and subscribe for more stories like this. See you on the next one.